We'll start once again this week with the Celebrity Traitors because, like Celia Imrie's fart in a cabin, we just can't escape it. And I've actually got two traitors joining me in the studio. Traitors, reveal yourselves. Oh, okay. It's my colleagues, Rod and Emily. Here we are. What's it like being under those traitors' hoods? Do you feel just like a real-life Jonathan Ross?
Yeah, I feel like you get in character, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if I can get 40 grand like the celeb traitors now, it'll complete the sensation. Is that okay?
Maybe you're going to be even more bitchy than usual today then.
Ooh,
yes. We are now.
So
Payback
talking
time.
about the show then, it's obviously been so huge. We're 2 weeks in. Rod, what can you tell us about the numbers?
Well, they're huge. That's what I can tell you. There's like 12 million people at least have watched the first episode. That makes it the biggest ever Traitors episode ever. And I think that the BBC was saying it's the biggest non-scripted show since 2022. I think that basically means things like Gavin and Stacey. I think that got like 19 million. But there's very, very few other shows that have got that anywhere near that level. But 12 million is staggering in this day and age. And then on Wednesday, the show got 7.1 million, and on Thursday it got a little bit higher than 7.1 million. So these are huge numbers by the standards of ordinary terrestrial telly. And when it goes out, it doubles when it goes onto iPlayer. That's incredible.
Wow. It is really like appointment television. I am terrified to go out on a Wednesday or a Thursday evening now because I need to rush back. Last night I was out having drinks and I was like, okay, I need to be back by the end of the episode so I can watch it before the actual episode finishes. You know, it's hard like that. But also, you know, Strictly is the other big show on TV at the moment. And the thing they have in common is obviously Claudia Winkleman, who helms them both. Do you think she is the BBC's best asset now?
Oh, she has to be. I mean, she's on, Wednesday, Thursday. It Takes Two. We sort of see her as well. Saturday night, Sunday. It's Queen Claudia for the whole week. But, I mean, she's amazing, so...
Yeah, she is very good. And it's funny, I was thinking the other day that like maybe even just 15 years ago, Claudia wasn't like a Davina McCall or even like a Tess Daly or even like an Amanda Holden. She's sort of gone in the space of 15 years from being someone who's not really a household name to being someone who's like queen of TV. She now hosts the top 2 most watched shows on British TV. And that's an incredible accomplishment, and everybody likes her.
Yeah, that's it. I think everyone loves Claudia, and everyone likes to see what she's wearing as well and how well her wardrobe has done. You know, people are going out and buying tartan and boots. It's become a thing, hasn't it?
It's actually a real talking point. My dad did ring me the other day and said, did you see what Claudia was wearing? And I thought, wow, I've never heard you talk about anyone's outfit ever. Yeah. So it's quite intriguing. And, you know, there's an incredible cast for this series. And the talk is that they are going to do another Celebrity Traitors. I mean, why wouldn't they? It's been such a success already. Who would you like to see on there? Because I feel like TikTok is already going through who there could be in the next series. If you were casting it, who would you be putting on the show?
Wow, that's a great question. I would love to see someone on there like a fantastic Shakespearean actor like, I don't know, Kenneth Branagh or Patrick Stewart. I'd tell you who'd be brilliant on there, Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you need someone dramatic and a little bit older and grander like Stephen Fry, you know, a big dog, as Joe Marler likes to refer to them. But who would you like to see like in the younger bracket?
In the younger bracket, see, I was thinking Graham Norton. That was my one that I was like, you know what, he would just fit the bill. And he BBC, he knows, he's like able to sort of, obviously seeing him on the chat show, you know, command that sort of, you know, between other people and get the most out of them. But I also think in terms of younger people, I think, you know, obviously influencers are becoming, they're having more people on from YouTube. So maybe someone in that sphere.
Yeah. I mean, I did see some people on TikTok suggesting Alison Hammond, who would be
yes!
obviously just hilarious
Amazing.
if she went on there.
Yeah.
And there's just so many people, isn't there? I think it would be so interesting if some people who have always been very careful about their image went on. Imagine if Holly Willoughby or Cheryl went on. It would just be so good because you'd actually see them in a way I think that you just haven't seen them in a long time. So I feel like there's a lot of different options there. But also, you know, there are some of the breakout stars, I think, this year have been the lesser known celebrities. Like, I would say probably a lot of the people who are watching didn't necessarily know who Kat Burns was beforehand. And now she's kind of one of the stars of the show. She's flying right under the radar, no one's suspecting her. Who are your standout stars?
obviously Alan. I feel like I'm watching it for Alan to the point that I actually never watched the civilian one. This is the first time I've properly watched a full series. I know.
Missing out. You need to go back and watch all of them instantly.
Do. But I feel like watching Alan sometimes, even I can watch the clips on socials and then I'll still watch it and still laugh, which I think tells, he's such a good character to have on there.
It's stating the obvious, but like Celia Imrie is TV gold,
Yeah.
and I think we always had an inkling that she might be, but I don't think anyone saw the fart coming, or they would have got out of the way. But basically, she is. I think she's slightly playing up to the cameras, dare I say. But what's wrong with that? If you're an actress and you're that funny and you're that clever, great, bring it on. And also, look, Rossi, a lot of people are going to take against Rossi because he is playing the game a bit too much, but at least he is actually playing the game. And that's what you're in there to do. Because I think there's an awful lot of people in there that are just sort of slightly fading into the background. I mean, am I being cynical, or do you think that there's quite a few people that you just don't notice?
For sure, yeah, there is. I think it'll be interesting with Jonathan, though, because it does feel like the spotlight is firmly on him right now. Whether he can survive much longer is a big question, but we've seen it on previous series where someone is, really like suspect number one, and then they stay in for weeks and weeks and weeks, and sometimes even get to the final. So I don't know. What do you reckon? Do you think he's got long left?
I think, I think people need to be a little bit more honest on there. I think people aren't really saying, I think I've seen it on socials and they're like, say what you really think, you can be a little bit more savage. And I think as the days go on, we might see that. But I think Jonathan, as is Alan, they are hiding in plain sight. So it's whether people are actually going to start to clock onto that. Yeah.
I think that next week, Jonathan will go. I'm going to stick my neck out and say that because the light is on him. Because I think you saw Claire Balding when she went out and she basically said, I was sure, and there was a part of me that was sure it was Jonathan, but I didn't actually go for it. And I think the next time the gloves will come off and the people that thought it might be him will now manifest that at the round table. I think part of the problem is that someone like Jonathan Ross and Stephen Fry and maybe even Alan Carr, because they're big stars, because they're a little bit older, they're seen as like the daddy of the group. And you don't get rid of the daddy from a family. They are the daddy for a reason. So I think there's a sort of residual respect. But next week, I think that will go because people will start to think, well, if it isn't them, it could be me. So I think I think Jonathan Ross will go next week.
I actually think that Charlotte Church looks very suspicious as well. If I was in that room, I'd be thinking, she's a traitor. I was watching it last night thinking, Charlotte Church must be a traitor. And then I realized I do actually know who the traitors are. So that was a silly thing to think. But I think she's playing a very suspicious game and she looks very awkward at the round table. I'm surprised she's not had more of a light shone on her, honestly.
So what, you think she just looks suspicious?
I think when someone's too much of a sweetheart, you instantly then think, well, they must be hiding something because, if you're going to be a traitor, they're going to choose someone that's not an obvious traitor. But then I suppose, obviously, Jonathan Ross, I would have thought he would have been too obvious because he's too much of a big character. But then he's able to sort of go under the radar because he's just being himself. So
I can't work out whether some people are going under the radar or are just a bit boring.
Yeah, I think people are being a little bit boring. I think you're right. Yeah.
And I also think that they naturally become like beta type figures rather than alpha figures because you've got like the big dogs like Alan Carr and stuff like that. And also if you're Alan Carr and you're constantly being funny, you're always going to grab the camera's attention. They're always going to edit you in and other people out. So I think that if one or two of the B-listers, sorry, whoops. If one or two of the B-listers go next week, I don't think anyone's going to shed many tears, let's be right. So.
Yeah.
Jonathan has had a lot of screen time, but partly because so many people have been suspicious of him. But he has said this week that he didn't enjoy filming. And I can kind of see why that would be the case. But what do you reckon, Rod?
I think that he had a moment of absolute candor on a podcast. And he said what he thought, which was, I didn't enjoy it because I was a traitor.
Well, you said you found it really challenging and really difficult. And obviously now knowing
now
the
you know I'm a
that,
traitor, then that's why. And I found it really wearing on me. The lying made me genuinely increasingly uncomfortable.
Now, there's nothing wrong with saying that. But then he sort of backpedaled. He went onto social media and said, there's been some misleading reports. And it's like, no, your podcast was probably the misleading thing because you didn't quite say what you really meant. Now, that's okay, but then don't sort of backpedal and sort of say, oh, well, you know, my words have been misconstrued. He's been in show business for, what, 40 years? He can say or not say exactly what he wants, and he didn't quite say what he claimed he was trying to say. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. Being a traitor must be an enormous amount of pressure. And someone was saying on the show last night, it's really easy to just continually be able to tell the truth. You know, you sit at that table, and if you're a faithful, and you can sit there and say, I'm not a faithful. I mean, I went up to the castle and I did the round table thing. And basically, I was a traitor. I got picked as a traitor. I took my hood off, much like today, and I basically had to say, I am a faithful. And immediately everyone could tell I was lying. So that's how difficult it is to keep up the line that pretends.
Yeah. Quite tiring as well, I can imagine, because every single thing, you've got nothing else to go off, have you? So everything is microanalyzed.
I think they're quite long days as well, filming late
Yeah.
into the night. It would be exhausting and maybe quite psychologically draining, let's put it that way.